Hi guys, it's Mew2King, and on today's video I will be talking about the high and top tiers of Melee. For my list would be the top 10 characters in the game in order ranked, and I will explain my reasoning. The bottom of B tier, which I also have as high tier, will be Yoshi. So, just looking at results, you could clearly see that Yoshi has, from AMSA specifically, has done better than any of the Samuses, Luigi's, Doc's, and so on, but not necessarily better than the characters above him. And there's not that many representatives for Yoshi, but AMSA specifically has done so well that, and I've fought against AMSA many times from both 2014 up to 2020. I don't even know our record count. I think I'm slightly ahead lifetime. He's won the first and last set, and I've won most of them in the middle, but I have a lot of experience fighting different Yoshis, and I would say that Yoshi is a pretty good character, but also has some weaknesses, and I don't think he's in the top 9. So Yoshi has a really strange thing about him, which is his shield. Also, his double jump armor. It's very different from other characters, because when you hit Yoshi on a platform, there's like no shield stun, or less stun than other characters have, which means he can punish you faster. Not to mention, his areas are really, especially like the shield drop up air, it can be really good for comboing. He's also pretty heavy, even better in PAL, but this is for NTSC video. If it was PAL, this is a PAL video, Yoshi would be even higher, but this is NTSC. Chain grabbing Yoshi depends on port, so the chain grab he can get out at 0, close to 0 if he has port 1, which is why me and AMSA always RPS for port 1. It's not nearly as bad as people say. Like, the chain grab is not nearly as bad as people say, and is only really done by like Sheik, for example. Combining Yoshi's weight with the ability to get consistent shield punishes, he can also, out of the air, do things like double jump cancel forward air. Now, you could hit Yoshi out of this, but if Yoshi's at a low percent, odds are the move won't send him very far, and he won't die from it. And or he'll be able to armor the move. Now, the armor depends on the move that hits him. For example, like a Sheik back air takes to I think it's like 70% or so in order to like break the armor, and like Fox's up air, it's like 40% or so. Like, it varies on the move, and there's like a specific percent that it will break the armor, but generally you're not gimping Yoshi at a low percent unless Yoshi takes a bad risk and then the risk doesn't work out. You can't even up air him with Fox, for example. You have to win the long war of attrition, you have to be very patient, and even then Yoshi still has options. Also, in the air, Yoshi could double jump armor a move and then hit you back even harder. So he'll take the damage, which is a good trade for Yoshi because Yoshi's heavier than you. So the trade will probably be in his favor from then, but then he also gains positional advantage, which could be a tech chase, an edge guard, or just stage control. So factoring all these in, he doesn't even have to win half the neutrals. He just has to win neutrals sometimes and then get a big punish. A low percent, you could do things like the rising back air and then get a lot of damage, or if you manage to land a fair at low percent, you can also get a lot of damage. Now, his dash grab is not very reliable because of Z-axis shenanigans, but he can also down throw really quickly, and a lot of the fast fallers and even middleweight fallers can get hit with up airs or up air chains. And then if you get tech chase, or if you end the up air combos, the fucking nair, you can walk to their position and down smash, and in the event they don't tech roll behind you, they just die from the down smash. Covering tech in place, miss tech, and tech roll to the ledge. And still taking damage even if they tech roll back. Otherwise, if you want to hard read the tech roll back, you just wave dash back and down smash, and then it's still really good. No matter what, their position's extremely bad with all things considered. Next, I'll have Pikachu. Now, Pikachu is pretty much carried by Axe, but I don't like to only base that off of like, okay, well, is it just Axe's skill? No, I think Axe is an amazing player, and he's shown that he's very good at the game even without Pikachu. However, I still think Pikachu is quite a good character. I think he's at least 9th in the game, if not higher. I feel like he's quite close to the top 8, actually, despite lack of representatives. He has a lot going for him in terms of being able to not get comboed hard by a lot of characters. Okay, so like Sheik can chain grab from like 0 to 40, but like Marth's combos don't do that well. Also, Pikachu and Pichu have this thing where they tech in place, and they're invincible from frames 1 to 24 instead of 1 to 20. So a lot of Pikachus like to abuse common human flowchart habits by teching in place, and then you try to like do like a Falcon downer or something, and you're timing it for like probably somewhere around frames like 21 through 23, and it just completely misses Pikachu because your common human habits for other matchups actually get nerfed against Pikachu, and then the move misses, and then Pikachu just hits you with like a down smash or an up smash. Like, I see that stuff happen all the time. It's kind of like one of those things that if you're not used to fighting it, you just get bodied by it. But that's the reality. you're not going to be used to fighting Pikachu at a super high level. This will always be a benefit for Axe. And that's just the reality. Like, Pikachu actually gets better because the character is not as common. And I feel like that's like important to mention. But I'm not necessarily nerfing him from that. If I was to add that to the factor, I'd put Pikachu even higher. Now, Pikachu also has a pretty good matchup on Marth. So good, in fact, that I think Axe is like 8-0 of Zane lifetime, despite Zane's improvements overall and him even practicing online against Pikachus. That's the thing, though. Axe will always have more practice against Marth than Zane has against Pikachu, just as an example. That's how it's always going to be. However, Pikachu also doesn't really beat any of the other characters above him. Pikachu goes even with, possibly beats Marth. Based on results, he beats Marth, but I think it's probably like evenish. Marth might even win at super optimal level, but there's no way that'll... I don't think that's happening anytime soon with the lack of other good Pikachus. Pikachu does pretty bad against Ices, pretty bad against Peach. Axe has only beaten like 8-Spox once lifetime, so he's pretty bad against Puff. He's never beaten Armada, although he's come close, and he's beaten other Pichus. Bad against him. He's lost to other wobbling Ices, and even, I think non-wobbling Ices sometimes too. So he's not very good against Ices. He's good against Cat and Falcon, however, and he can combo to fast forwards. He's beaten me a lot of times, so he's not that bad against Sheik. But yeah, he doesn't beat those characters, but he can still win. And he has a really, really great recovery that he can use to mix up in many different ways. He has up throw where you can get an up smash combo. Even on characters like Sheik, you can up throw, up smash them if they accidentally DI, which they're usually going to. You can chain grab Captain Falcon, Fox, and Falco from 0 to death on FD. Well, you can't start at 0 against Fox, I don't think, or I'm not sure. But you can pretty much chain grab all the fast falls to death on FD. You can still do other combos. You can tail spike. You can go for risky gimps and just still recover easily and only get a small punish. He has a lot going for him. And I feel like he's 9th in a game or higher. Now, I'm going to get to A tier, which could be considered the high tier or the top tier. So, maybe tier gap, maybe not, but I will have Ices with Wobbling Band next. Now, you might be like, oh, but Wobbling Bands makes them much worse. Well, here's the thing. Ices can actually still def grab you, even without wobbling. It's just harder. It just takes actual, like, more practice. I've actually had Ices, like, I've played wobbles. I've even played him in tourney, where he grabbed me, and I still couldn't do anything from 0 to def, and he did, like, I've had Ices players do handoffs, and I've had Ices players do other platform combos and all these other things. I've seen so many different combinations of stuff. Not only have I seen it, I've also been victim to it over, like, my many years of tourney experience. I know that you can still 0 to def people. It's just way more easy with wobbling. So wobbling does make Ices better, but I still don't think they're a bad character even without that. They can still do crazy combos. It's just nobody has tried to explore them because there's no reason to with wobbling. Because why would you try to go out of your way to do something harder when you can just wobble? There's no reason to. So for years, they just did the wobble. Ices, kind of like Luigi, they have the second longest wave dash to Luigi. And the fact that there's 2 of them and you can do a light shield, hard shield. Did you know if you don't hit the Icy shield in the same frames, they count separately? If you hit Nana and Popo's shield on the same frame, for example, like if you start like a Marth down air or something, or a Fox strong nair, very close to Ices, so that you hit both shields on the same frame, then I think it like counts once. But if you hit them on separate frames, it counts twice, and that's a trick a lot of Ices use, Chuda especially, so that you're in lag, extra lag, and then it's like a free shield grab, and then you can still do things like down air regrab, but it's kind of gimmicky because like you can smash DI that to avoid it. So there's like multiple ways. You can do down air regrab to kill. You can do it on like many characters, Peach, Fox, and stuff. And if you don't SDI, then it's like a true 0 to def. But if you SDI, you can escape them all every time, assuming you don't mess up, which is part of human execution, which is another part of the game. But then you also have handoffs, and then you also have wobbling. So based on the tourney and the Icy skill set and the other opponent's skill set, it's still very dangerous on like what you can do. And then if you're mashing really hard, like if you're trying to mash out of a combo, and you're rotating the stick, but then they smash attack you really early, if like down smash or forward smash, then while you're mashing, they can just end the combo early and just gamble that you're trying to escape, but then they DI bad, and then you can start a rinse-repeat edge guard process. So, and then there's also like stuff they can do, like you can make Nana edge hog the ledge while Popo stands on stage. There's different ways, like you can desync and cover different options. But I see like different Ices. All the Ices players, they have different strengths. Like they're good at playing a certain style and doing certain things, but there's no Icy player that's good at everything. But if, like, theoretically they were all to combine all their skill sets, Icy's as a character can cover a lot of options. And I would actually put Icy significantly above 8th based on theoretical potential. I'm only putting them here now based on Wobbling Band because Wobbling Band is the majority of tournaments. Next, I'll have Peach. To be blunt, I think Armada hard carries Peach. Now, don't get me wrong, Peach is still quite good. I think Peach can actually be a pretty good character. And it's obvious with Armada's results. Armada, in my opinion, was the GOAT of the game, the greatest of all time. In my opinion. It's obviously debated between like him and HBox, Mango, yada yada. But that's my personal opinion from both observation and experience playing against him. So Peach is a really consistent character, but she has a notably really bad matchup, and that is Jigglypuff. This forced Armada into a secondary because that matchup is just so bad. It's such a terrible matchup at top level that, like, if both players are equal skill level and equal knowledge of the matchup, Armada claims it's unwinnable. But even if it's not unwinnable, it's still so bad that it's almost no reason not to use, like, a secondary if you're just good at the game as a whole. Peach beats Ices as well. Peach pretty much beats every single character below her on the tier list. Every single character, from Pikachu, Yoshi, Samus, so on. She beats every character below her, which is really consistent and nice. I almost wanted to put her higher because of that specifically. But she doesn't necessarily beat any of the characters ranked above her. She loses to Fox pretty hard if the Fox wants to camp. Like Leffen, or even when I beat Armada, see, like, I wasn't even, my controller at, you can look at me versus Armada, SKTAR. You saw that I beat Armada by playing campy and careful. But my controller was like not that good at the time. Like you could see it was doing forward stands and stuff, and it wasn't ledge dashing. But I was still able to win just through my neutral comebacks. Like you could see that the play style is effective. You can see how Leffen plays against Peach. Like you can see Peach's weaknesses through that. PPMD used to camp, and I think Falco has a small advantage against Peach. I feel like it's 55-45 Falco favor if you camp. Jigglypuff's pretty bad. Marth wins. I don't think it's as bad as people say. Like I beat Armada with Fox before Marth. I just continued using Marth because I practiced the character more. So I think Marth beats Peach for sure. But I think Fox beats Peach harder. And my personal experiences have told me that. But yeah, again, Marth beats Peach as well. Sheik beats Peach, but it's only like really close. It's like 55-40. It's like 55-45, 53-47, something like that, probably. And then Falcon, it's like same as Sheik. It's probably like 55-45, 53-47, whatever. One of those types of things. So Peach beats every character below her, but loses to every character above her. It's kind of interesting how that works out. But with Armada's results and consistency over time, Peach has to at least be like 7th or 8th. Next, I would have Wobbling Ices. And for the same reasons I said, punish game consistency, I put Ices a bit higher. So many random Ices are just upsetting different players. In fact, even Mango lost to a Wobbling Ices at SmashCon in 2018, and he got taken out of the tournament by that, and then he forfeited in losers. You see many instances where I lose to a Wobbling IC. You see many instances where Axe loses to Wobbling ICs, and he usually gets 3-0'd. You see many instances where Pluff has lost to Wobbling ICs. In fact, even this past Genesis, he lost to Army's Wobbling ICs, and then I beat Army right after that. And it's usually like, you usually think it's the opposite, but it just shows that it's not just Mew2King's bias. It's like, okay, well, other players are losing to it too. Mango's lost quite a few times. I've lost. Axe has lost. Pluff has lost. Like, a lot of people can be victim to Wobbling ICs, and we're talking different IC players. Honestly, Ices might be several spots higher than this based on theoretical potential of what the character can do. Ices could be as high as 5th in a game. I'm not doing that yet, though, because the majority of tourneys have Wobbling Band, so I'd put Ices around 8th in a game. If Wobbling was legal as the common standard, then I put Ices as high as 5 or 6 in a game. So next, after that, will be Captain Falcon. Falcon's an interesting situation because you kind of have to have a really fast reaction time in order to do specifically the Wizrobe style. But even without that, you can still just do guesses at times and get hard punishes. Like, Nun just does guesses sometimes, gets hard punish. Stomp knee, double knee. You can do things like stomp knee, double knee, rinse, repeat. There's a lot of options you have. And there's another move that I want to mention that Falcon has that's undeveloped, and that's up air. I've constantly been telling Wizrobe to use up air even more, especially against certain characters like Marth, Jigglypuff, and so on. Like, just that move is so broken. I think it is, in my opinion, it is Captain Falcon's best move. And depending on the situation, I can think it could be the best up air in the game. So there's a lot of ways that you can just up air and you can land, and there's no guaranteed punish by the opponent. You can buffer roll away, you can gentleman or mix up the jabs, you can side B, dash away depending on the spacing. it's not that unsafe as a landing up air. But if you hit, you can kill them. Also, if they're above you, just up air. And it'll either trade or you'll win. So it's never going to not trade. It's either going to trade, even like against the Falco Dare, it's going to trade or you'll win. And the trade is always good for you too. So just go for it. Just do it. There's a lot of different ways to use up air that I think is undeveloped. In addition to that, Falcon only barely loses to Jigglypuff. Against Marth, it's roughly even. And Falcon has a winning matchup against all characters below him outside of maybe Pikachu, which is highly debatable. But Falcon loses to all the characters above him as well. So it's an interesting case. Falcon, Marth even, but everyone else above him, Falcon loses to. Everyone else below him, Falcon even or beats. Next, I'll have Sheik. I think Sheik, alongside Wobbling Ices, could be considered for 5th in the game, but I'm going to give it to Sheik, especially considering the consistency of rule sets. I definitely think Sheik is a solid 5th in the game. Sheik loses to all the characters above her, except for Marth, which is either even or Sheik's favor. But Sheik also beats all the characters below her, except for Ices, who beat Sheik. Now, I think Sheik's similar to Falcon, where if you were lucky enough to be born with a super fast reaction time, some kind of like face roll or Wizrobe or blessed enough with, then you can. Because yes, I do think that genetics is a big part of this. Unfortunately, this practice can take you to a certain level, but depending on the person, it peaks, and down the fraction of a frame that makes the difference. You can just down throw Spaceys or a lot of characters and just tech chase them to death, even with crouch tech chase and stuff. But even without that, you have like good back throw. Good back throwing. You have good KOing. You have good maneuverability, good shield drops, safe aerials, good disjoints. Not like Marth level disjoints, but like pretty good disjoints on your moves. Kind of like a mini sword. Kind of like it's almost like if you had a small dagger. But like the hitboxes are really huge for physical moves. Kind of reminds me of Ganon's hitboxes, except attached to a better character. Really, really good edge guarding. She pretty much has everything. It's just that she's not better overall than the top 4 characters. And unfortunately, the top 4 characters outside of Marth, which she has a good matchup against, she loses pretty badly to Fox, Falco, and Jigglypuff, which is a pretty big deal. She loses to Ices, which with all the wobbling Ices, depending on the tournament, since that can also vary if wobbling's legal or not, and that also tends like who they're going to go. But even without wobbling, Ices actually beats Sheik, which is another thing. And she doesn't have like a free matchup against like Falcon, Peach, Yoshi, Pikachu. Like Sheik beats Peach, Falcon, Pikachu, Yoshi, but Sheik only beats those characters slightly. I'd say she like 55-45 all 4 of them, like give or take a little bit. Like it's not as bad as people want to say. It's probably really bad at low level. But the thing is, at higher level, she'll get juggled harder. She'll get edge guarded harder. She'll get cross canceled harder at low percent. Like she has weaknesses that you can like exploit, and those get exploited more as the meta develops and people get better. But at lower level, kind of like how Samus and Ganon destroy at low-level play, Sheik destroys so hard at low-level play that there was one point in time where I thought Sheik could be the best character in the game. And early on my Melee lifespan, like before turns, I used to argue that. And there was even a point in 2009 where I thought Sheik was the best in the game. But obviously, that's because people were not exploiting her weaknesses as bad as it could be. Anyway, I think she's a concrete 5th in the game. Although it's possible she could be 6th, I think she's 5th. Now I will go to who I think the top tiers are. I will rank the top 4 in order based on my opinion of how good they are, along with matchup spreads. And this is also based on the current rule set, which most rule sets, some tournaments have ledge guard limit and some don't. I'm going to say number 4 in the game is Marth. Now, many of you will probably immediately say, oh, you're just biased, look at Zane's results. I'm like, okay, well, what about the fact that Marth has a 50-50 matchup against Captain Falcon and Sheik and Pikachu and Yoshi? Well, roughly, give or take. So here's what I think. Here's my opinion of matchups. I think Marth Fox is even. I don't care what other people say. I've been fighting Foxes for years with Marth and Sheik and Fox. And I've often opted for the Fox Ditto at times. But then I decided more toward Marth because I was just practicing the character more, and it's benefited my strengths. I think Zane and me, we're just outplaying our opponents. I think the matchup's even. And I think the reason we practice against Fox so much is because when I go to a tournament to play friendlies with whoever, I'd say almost 50% of the time they're using Fox. And when they're not Fox, it's often like a fast forward in some capacity. The fast forwards, like Fox, but also a bit Captain Falcon and Falco, but mostly Fox, are so common that we're just practicing the same thing. We get to experiment the exact same scenarios over and over and over. That means I can also practice what works against most humans, what can theoretically work, 50-50s, mix-ups, and all these practice punish game. We're practicing that so much that we've got it down optimized. I don't think Fox is a worse character for this, but if you want to argue that, okay, Fox does get punished on a human level for the character being common, kind of like how Pikachu is buffed. My list is based on like how good I think the characters actually are. However, it is important to note that some characters like Pikachu get buffed, and characters like Fox also get nerfed based on how common they are. When you run into somebody in tournament, if you're playing off, you're going to get bodied because almost everybody and their mom can fight against Fox. Okay, maybe not their mom. Everybody can fight against Fox because we're practicing it. I have so many hours of Marth vs. Fox, especially like before I stopped playing the game. But it doesn't matter. I have so many total hours in my life of practicing Marth vs. Fox just because there's so many people using the matchup that I've pretty much got it optimized super hard. But okay, back to the topic. Marth Fox, the way I see it, is even. Marth Falco, the way I see it, in my personal opinion, many people may disagree with me, but I think Falco has a very small advantage in that matchup. But let's just say that's even too. Marth Puff. Without pivoting, it's really bad. But with pivoting, it's shown to be even. As you can see, Zane, H-Fox, they always go Game 5 last hit, and usually H-Fox wins the last time Zane won, like, back and forth. Although, to be fair, Zane practices it a lot more, but yeah. So, Fox even, Falco even, Puff even, takes Sheik, probably even, might be even. It's either even or Sheik favor on human level or, like, theoretical level, Marth favor. It's like, so that's another thing that's, like, roughly even. Captain Falcon, they both body each other, that's another even. Beats Peach, but it's not as bad as people say. Icy's, I think to beat Icy's, but I also don't think it's as bad as people say. And Pikachu, I think Marth beats Pikachu or it's even, despite the fact that Axe is 8-0 versus Zane. But it just shows that like Pikachu threatens Marth harder. And then there's Yoshi, which is like, I think like Marth beats Yoshi, but it's also not that much either. And I think Zane beat Amsa the last time they played, but like Amsa won the times before that or something. So basically the way I view Marth is that you have a lot of matchups that are roughly even. He might slightly win or slightly lose, and there's going to be a lot of disagreements for it. But I think here's why I rank him below Jigglypuff, Fox, and Falco. Jigglypuff, Fox, and Falco have a much better matchup against Captain Falcon, a much better matchup against Sheik, a much better matchup against Yoshi, and a much better matchup against Pikachu. If we're going to take the top 15 players in the world in today's meta, there is one Yoshi in the top 15, one Pikachu, 3 Captain Falcons, quite a few Sheiks or Sheik secondaries, like me and Plup use like a Sheik main / secondary, and then there's like other good Sheiks. There's like Face Roll, Sweetest Delight, Sparks getting better. Like there's more Sheiks, and so that's important too. And I feel like the fact that Jigglypuff, Fox, and Falco each respectively handle those 4 characters better than Marth handles those 4 characters. When talking about solo maining a character for a major, having an easier matchup there is, in my opinion, important. And I think these 4 characters, the top 4 in the game, are all extremely close. And if it wasn't for that, I may or may not put Marth slightly higher. But I feel like the top 4, as said before, I think they're extremely close. And it really just comes down to the fact that Marth doesn't have as free of a matchup spread. You're going to run into Sheiks, several of them. You're going to run into several Captain Falcons. Axe will probably usually rank high. Amps will usually rank high. And I think Marth having more trouble against them than Jigglypuff, Fox, and Falco is why I will rank Marth for solo maining. Next, I will have Jigglypuff. This may come to many people's surprise, but this assumes that the ledge grab limit rule is in effect. 60 ledge grabs and you auto lose. Now, it is in my personal opinion, and I've been saying this for years, that Jigglypuff's planking is so strong that it actually changes their placement on the tier list. If Jigglypuff had infinite ledge grabs like it was in the past and played to win without caring about the health or longevity of the game and did constant abusing stowing rules, you can stall out Ices after getting a small lead. You can stall out Peach. You can stall out pretty much any floaty. Like Dreamland, you get the lead on somebody, or Battlefield, you get the lead and you camp the air backers and stuff. Threaten timeouts between ledge grabs and camping in the air. I've even seen like H-Box timeout shootout at DreamHack with like only 20 ledge grabs in total, which is why I've always been arguing that Puff's ledge grab limit should be different from other characters because she builds them slower, and in addition to that, doesn't need it. And the ease of execution is also less. It's like at least 3 different reasons off the top of my head. I think there's even more. Jigglypuff has a pretty big advantage against Yoshi, a pretty big advantage against Pikachu, pretty big advantage against Sheik. Beats Falcon slightly, in my opinion. I feel like it's me and Wizzy think it's like 55-45 Puff. Pretty big advantage against Jigglypuff. Pretty big advantage against Ices. Beats all the characters below her, but does have some weird weaknesses. Like Young Link and Game Watch are kind of even, but we never see that, so like it doesn't really matter. Pretty even against Marth, and Falco's debatably pretty even. I actually think Falco wins at optimal level play, to be honest, because the lasers turn you around, but I'll talk about that later. Yeah, I think actually Falco beats Puff at optimal play. And we've even seen a Falcon player named Albert who recently beat HBox in a best of 5 set. Although HBox did win the run back. So I feel like Puff could be anywhere between 1st to 3rd. Anywhere between 1st to 4th, actually. With an average of 2 to 3. She could be as low as 4th in a game at like theoretical optimal level play. In addition to a ledge grab limit being in effect. But at the same time, when you factor in human errors and infinite ledge grabs, she could be as high as 1st. So she's kind of a weird spot where I could see her as high as 1st to as low as 4th. Ranking these top 4 is really tricky because Puff destroys a lot of characters. And I've seen Leffen and Armada's final tier list, the most recent tier list for each of them. They put Puff the #1 on the human error. For me, I feel like it's more complicated and not as straightforward as that. Also, her ease of consistency is also another thing to mention. But yeah, this is why I have the top 4 in their own tier. I feel like they're clearly the best 4. And that you've consistently seen like solo majors won by these 4 characters much more than the characters below them, where we usually need bracket luck. In addition, this is also my own opinion. Next, I will talk about Falco. I rank Falco next, but Falco's also another weird situation. Like, I almost want to say that any of these 4 characters could be in any order, but I still think Marth's the worst of them because of matchup spread only. But the order here doesn't really matter that much because I honestly feel like it's so close. But there are some things that Falcos are not using. Falco's ledge dash, which is one of the things that make Fox so good. Oh, by the way, Pichu has, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Pichu has the same ledge dash as Fox. It's another reason he's so good. I don't think I mentioned it before. But Falco has only, on average, about 1 frame worse ledge dash than Fox. By the way, it also varies on the stage. Like certain stages like Fountain of Dreams and Dreamlands can be harder than Yoshi Story or Battlefield most of the time. It's complicated because there's ECB and all these other factors. Falcos are not abusing their ledge dash. And they're not abusing camping with lasers. And they're not abusing the way they can play defensively. And I feel like there's a lot that Falco can do, and I feel that Falco is a very underrated character. I do not know why people are consistently putting Falco around like 4th. When I see a tier list that puts Falco 5th, I'm like, I don't understand this. Like, we can't be playing this. We can't have the same understanding of the game. I feel like Falco's clearly top 3 in the game, and I don't know why people keep putting him so low. He has more range than Fox. He has def combos. He can cover options. When you shoot a laser, even if it gets reflected back, which, by the way, is pretty hard to do, Zane actually has it set up in a way where the L and R buttons are different. And, like, one of them is Zane actually learned melee in a crazy way where he learned the L and R button, where one of them is a light shield and one of them is a hard shield, which is why he's able to power shield so consistently, because he has one of them set up for it consistent doing it, and the other one doesn't, which is why no one else can power shield like him. But even then, no one's doing it back to him in the same way. But then, did you know that even when you reflect the laser, it only does half damage back? So it's like, it's not even like that good. But then I also see like he's also playing more patient than the other Falcos. Like, he'll take laser and fair, but you can literally just block and be patient, reset neutral. But a lot of people like want to run in and they don't want to be patient. They just want to be like play the game like the aggressive way Mango plays. But you don't have to do that. It's just that everyone wants to copy the cool aggressive way. But it's like, if you're trying to win, you don't have to do those things. Like, he has the tools to not have to do those things. You just have to consistently be playing patient. I've seen other players like threaten timeouts and stuff, like especially with Jigglypuff. Like, you see Jigglypuff threaten timeout and stuff. I haven't seen Falcos like hardly ever do that at the top level, but you can. Like, the character has the tools to do that. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to play the game a certain way. The character has tools to do other things. His risk reward for a lot of attacks is really good. You can trade with the down airs, and the Nair can also shield poke pretty well. On human level, a lot of people have like instinct to shield or do certain actions after the laser, so you can abuse common human flowcharts, which is like, it's something not talked about, but it's like, it's kind of a thing. It's kind of like how, like, if you're fighting Samus and she wants to, like, you want to shield. And I don't know the best way to explain it, but, like, you can kind of, like, tell, you can control the pace of the match. It's kind of hard to explain. It sounds dumb, but you can actually, like, by shooting a laser, you can usually tell the opponent will usually do fair here, or they'll usually shield here, or they'll usually dash away here. And that's just, like, a human habit. It's kind of, like, hard to not do. And, like, everyone, literally everybody has these things. And you can, like, that's why Mango, like, sometimes, like, does it, and then he overshoots. He just does what he thinks they're going to do next. Oh, yeah, also, you can do, like, laser shine grab. And if the laser hits, it combos into shine grab. But the shine grab also will always grab this, even if you don't have, even if you're port 1 or port 4, it doesn't matter. You'll always shine grab first. And there's just a lot this character has. Like, I feel like he can just handle any situation. And I honestly still think he's underrated. In terms of matchups, I think he doesn't have anything he actually loses. I think, like, it's another situation where, kind of like Marth, except he has more winning matchups. Like, I think Falco beats Sheik, although it's, like, close. It's it's like slight Falco favor, but it's definitely Falco favor for sure. I think it's 55-45 Falco, like Falco versus Sheik. I think Falco beats Falcon pretty bad. Me and Wizro both think it's Cat and Falcon's worst matchup. I think Falco beats Peach slightly if you play defensive way, which means not running at the opponent at all times, which is how Peach wins, by the way. Slightly beats Ices, slightly beats Pikachu, slightly beats Yoshi. So, like, it's more slight wins rather than Marth's, like, consistent barely winning. Like, rather than Marth's consistent 50-50 across the board, it's like Falco's slight wins on the same characters, and I think that's important. Also, I think at optimal level play, I think Falco Puff is either even or slight Falco. But you have to play a defensive style. Like, every time you laser Puff, Puff has to face you. And people aren't abusing that enough. They're just like, they want to run in, and then they get up to arrested. Or just, the Puff player is always playing patient, because that's what Puffs do. But then, like, the Falco's usually just running in because they want to play melee a certain way. But you don't have to. And then you have the back air and up tilt, and even if it's bigger than Fox's back air and up tilt by a good margin. So you can just use back airs, up tilts, and lasers in defensive play. And just constantly threaten defensive play with the mix-up of safe attacks. And there's a lot. It's pretty good. I used to play with like character, and I used to do like, we used to do a bunch of different matches in the past, and I was like, wow, Falco Puff's like not that easy unless they like approach in a dumb way. Like, if Falco does like a rising downer and the Puff's expecting it, she can actually like do things like rest out of shield and stuff. But like, Falco has different ways to play. You don't have to keep doing it the same way. And having a big mix-up tree is what I think separates certain characters. Next, I'll have Fox. Obviously considered best in the game, but I don't think he's like best in the game by that much. But the thing with Fox is he doesn't really lose any matchups. I feel like his worst matchups are like even. Like, Falco's even, Puff he beats 55-45. Contrary to what everyone else is going to tell me because of recent Fox agendas, I think Marth Fox is even. I think Fox slightly wins on the non-FD. I think Marth has a heavy advantage on FD, but I think Fox is slightly winning on the other stages on average, which also makes him favored in 2 out of 3s, in my personal opinion, because FD is always gone. Fox beats Sheik, Falcon, Peach, Ices. Like, he doesn't really lose any of the matchups. However, it's like a weird situation because, like, if you're playing bad with Fox, then Fox is, like, garbage. Like, Fox is, like, a high-tier character if you're playing bad. But if you're playing good, he's the best character in the game. He's the best lead dash. You have, like, theoretically, you have the answer to any situation. You can even do, like, wave shine out of shield. You can camp with lasers, move around the stage in any direction really fast. He's just well-rounded in the sense that, like, he can do anything. And, the main reason I stopped using him as a main is because a combination. First off, it was hurting my hands to constantly use the character. But second off, I was playing so many Smash games that my lifestyle, on average, was going from turn to tournament to tournament, year after year after year. Especially like throughout most of my life, you can literally just look on a Wikipedia and just see all the tourneys I traveled to and the locations for proof of that. So I would go to tourney, melee and brawl at the same time, or melee and brawl and Project M, or melee and brawl and PM and Smash 64, and then you add Smash 4 to that, and it's like, okay, well, I want a character where even if I'm not focused on entirely melee and only warming up in melee the whole day, that can still play good. That is my main decision for not investing more in Fox, in addition to the fact of hand pain, and the fact that I already split my time so evenly with Marth and Sheik. So which characters are more consistent when playing on your B game instead of your A game? Well, I'd say Marth and Sheik have a better B game, but I think Fox has a better like A, especially A+ game. So that's why I specifically use Fox for like Jigglypuffs, for example. Like, obviously, H-Box is the most notable, but I do use it against Jigglypuffs in general. In a universe where I'd never played Brawl, PM, or any other game, and my hands never hurt, I would probably have been a Fox main, because I actually think the character's that good. And even today, despite not using the character as much, you still see me like, I'm able to come back, like, I've beaten H-Box like 25 sets in my life or something like that, I don't know. Like, I have a respect, like, I've beaten Armada before, I've beaten Leffen before, like, I've beaten SFAT. I have respectable results. Like, I've shown that even though Fox is my third best character, and I actually think Fox is the best character in the game. However, I do think Puff with infinite ledge grabs could potentially be better, but most rules are not using that, and most of the time H-Box doesn't want to abuse it, and he wasn't really good at planking with forward airs anyway, and I've been saying that for a long time in my previous videos. So I think Puff with infinite ledge grabs and Fox are probably the best 2 characters, but I feel like it's really close with the top 3 and also top 4. Like, I feel like it's like top 3, almost any order, and then like depending on the rule sets and a lot of other factors. And then Marth's 4, but then there's like a giant gap after Marth. But yeah, these are just my opinions, guys. And I've been playing this game for 18 years. I promise you, I'm not like trying to lie to you for any. Like, this game doesn't even have balance patches anyway, so it's not even like that would do anything. These are actually my honest opinions on the game. Like jokes aside, this is actually what I think. of the characters' potentials and how good the characters are. So this is my tier list. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know people have been asking me this for a long time, and I finally released my honest opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell because I will be releasing more future content. See you guys later.